Leighann Lord on Hanging with Leighann.
Yay!
We were talking about, my sister wants to know how we know each other from the stand-up world. We know each other from stand-up comedy. You began, what year did you begin?
92.
So you were ahead of me. I began in 98. That's how we know each other. I watched Leighann at Stand Up New York for the first time I saw you there, and I was just so impressed with your smarts and what you were bringing to the stage. And I said, that's my kind of comic.
I appreciate that.
Of course you do. So you guys, if you want to make comments, just go to StreamYard.com/Facebook, and we'll be able to see your comments here. If you have a question for us or anything you want to say, StreamYard.com/Facebook. Click on the blue button. When I say anything you want to say, I don't mean it. If you do evil political things.
No.
So you were talking about that we don't want to hate people. They make us hate them. Talk about your rage. What's bugging you these days? Well, what's bugging you these days?
I guess it's easier to talk about what's not.
All right, let's do that.
You know, I have a cat. I love him dearly.
You do.
Know, it's bad when you like animals better than people.
Well, that's easy to do.
Yeah, well, depending on the cat. He happens to be one of the lovable cat dog variety.
He's a cool cat.
He is a cool cat. Right now, he is sleeping in the living room on my chair, which, you know, everybody keeps saying it's not your chair anymore. It's his chair.
His name is Sir, I believe.
His name is Sir. I call him many things. He answers to none of it. He shows up when he wants.
Let's talk about your podcast, People with Parents. How did that come about and what's it about?
Well, People with Parents is it's a podcast. It's about the role reversal between adult children and aging parents. That's essentially the premise of the podcast. And I started it, I guess it's been about 3 years now. And it turned into being these funny little stories that were happening between me and my parents as they're getting older and I'm wondering what the hell is happening to them. And it really started with they were getting older and sicker and I was stepping in and doing more and more and more. And I thought that I was all by myself in this because I always say I barely got the original Birds and Bees talk. You know, this one about, you know, aging and role reversal and taking care of parents. Nobody said a word, nothing. And so this was a big shock. So I thought it was just me. And so I started the podcast because what else do you do as an artist except channel your trouble through your art?
Yeah.
You know, so I was talking, right. I was talking about it on stage, you know, and more people were resonating with it. And I said, well, let me try this podcast. And it was just a wonderful, as you say, why you do this show, it was a wonderful outlet for me to go, this is what the old people did now.
Oh my God. And how often do you do it? Once a week or regularly?
Oh gosh, no. It's once a month if I'm being ambitious, because there got to be a time there where managing my career, managing my life, managing them, that 3 adult lives that I was managing. It just became overwhelming.
Oh, you were doing this pre-virus. Okay. So you've been doing it for a while.
Yeah. No. I've been in the trenches actually for quite a while with this.
Why don't you explain what this is so it can resonate for some people out there?
This is the job of being a caregiver. I hate that word. I rather say caretaker, but some people think that means I've already buried them.
Well, you're working for a funeral home, right?
Right, exactly. But yeah, it does, become caregiving, when they can no longer make decisions for themselves, when you have to, you're taking them to medical appointments, when you're, even concerned about what they eat and what medicines they're taking. Like there was a point where I could rattle off their name, birth date, social security number, medications, dosages. If you ask me what's going on in my life, I couldn't tell you.
Right. Well, for them, you lost your dad. When did you lose your dad? God rest his soul.
July 9th last year.
Coming up. And then your mom, I know, she's suffering from.
She's physically here, but she has Alzheimer's. And so it's this weird existence of mourning somebody who's not here, but still here.
Yeah, that's got to be rough for you. And you share this. She shares this stuff. You write about it. You talk about it on stage. You have it with your YouTube, People with Parents, Leighann Lord Comedy. God love you. And you're an only child.
No, I'm just the only one they like.
So they told you. I mean, they need somebody to rattle off the medication.
I'm the one on the hook here. But I'm the youngest. I'm the only girl. And that, while growing up in most of my adulthood, that was great. I was royalty. And I didn't know that would mean, I'm your nurse now.
Yes. Yeah, my younger sister, she's 15 years younger than all of us. There's 6 of us, and she's 15 years younger than I am. She's watching now. So, Anne, good luck to you. Get the medicine cabinet ready.
Yeah. No, there's always one. It doesn't even matter how many siblings. There's, and so there's some families that are good, but yeah, it always falls on one person, and that was me. So,
well, you know what, too? Our dad, thank God he just got home, but he's been in and out of the hospitals for the past month. And, we tough guy from the South Bronx. As soon as I stop bleeding, I'm making a run for it. This is how he is.
Yeah.
But he, he's recovering, but I can't go see him because of the virus. So we did a Zoom party, and luckily I have great siblings who are there checking in on him and being there with them. And, what are you going to do? I'm going to get a bit serious. So what's more serious than Alzheimer's and parents dying? But, we mean in a different way. You said something. I love following you on Facebook because your comments are like, I don't give a crap. I'm going to say what I want. Come at me. I don't give a shit. This is my Facebook page.
Right.
And good for
I
you.
don't have a traditional job. Who's going to fire me?
Right. But I get very reactive to people who I got called a fascist yesterday, and you never, ever say anything good about somebody that is running America. And I'm like, well, that's right. I don't.
No.
Well, even when he does good things, I said, well, it doesn't undo the other things for me. Sorry. It's like having a boyfriend who abuses your sister, and all of a sudden you're supposed to like him because he donated to the car wash, the kids' fundraiser. Sorry. Don't feel that way. But I try to be apolitical on this show, but sometimes the world calls for you not to be. And you made a comment, and I'll let you go from there. You made a comment on your Facebook.
What did I say? I'm almost nervous. What did I say? Because sometimes I tweet when I've been drinking and it's late at night.
Oh, is that what it is? The wine, couple glasses of wine. I know. I've had to delete the next morning myself a few times.
Yes.
You said when it comes to African Americans that we're lucky that we're lucky you don't want revenge. All you want is equality.
That was actually a quote. I had seen this woman's, and I'm blanking on her name. And at the time I saw the video, I didn't know her name. She had this wonderful video rant on Instagram. And that was the end of her rant. And I was like, you know what? She's damn right that we don't want more, that more of us aren't serial killers.
You never are the serial killers. That's the thing.
No, we're not either that, or we're just really that good at it.
Do you put that in your act? Because that's really good.
I guess I will now.
That's really funny. Oh, Leighann, Lord. Very funny. You also said something else on your Facebook page. I'm not stalking you. I just like following you, and your stuff resonates.
That's what social media is there for.
I know, but I feel like social media for me, it's like my living room. So if you're going to be racist, or you're going to be misogynistic or xenophobic, I just don't want you in my living room. You know what? I'm not going to hate you. I don't want to hate you. Just go hang out with your tribe. I just want to hang out with my,
Yeah, I'm amazed that people that I guess it's the social media etiquette, they feel like they can post stuff on your wall. Or here's the thing, if you don't agree, you can close the tab. Yeah. You can move on. You can post something on your page. Don't come to my page with your foolishness, because you're going to get deleted and blocked.
I know. I hate doing it, but
I love it.
You do. But sometimes it's people I've known my whole life and I just want to be like peaceful coexistence. Go over there and we'll deal with each other another
I want
time.
That too. But if I've known you all my life and you've done something that I think is egregious, guess what? I'm going to need to learn and meet some new people.
Yeah,
our relationship has expired.
I have to get. I guess I'm too codependent with people. I have to be like tougher. I don't know. Maybe people wouldn't think I am, but I really get overly like, all right. But if people I don't know, I'm like block, delete, see ya.
Right. And I love the guys who sort of wander onto my page. And let's be clear, it's always a white man. It is always a white male who I don't know how he saw my post. We're not even friends. And he comments. And when it's something that's just so off left field and out of pocket, I'm like, who is this person? And I go, and we're not friends.
Right. And delete, buy, block. Absolutely. Right. No, I'm absolutely with you on that. Leighann, on your Facebook page, you wrote about, hey, white people, get in the game. I'm paraphrasing. Get in the game. Don't come to me to hold your hand about how to deal with Black issues.
Yep.
I'm not your hand holder. Talk to me more about that. Obviously,
Okay. So here's the deal. There have been a lot of people in my life who have known me a long time. You know me to be a good, kind, decent human being. If you have not learned anything from me by this point, school is not in session from me right now. Okay, where have you been? But a lot of people don't have these conversations, and I actually had some folks just rush up into my inbox. Leighann, I'm so sorry. Okay, George wasn't related to me, but thank you. I'm so sorry. What do I now that people are seeing racism because they're home because of Corona? What do I do? What do I do? And I was just, I shouldn't say I was annoyed, but I was annoyed. I'm like, now you see what's going on? Like, what did you think was happening the past 50 years or since 1619? So
what do you think's been happening since 1619? Did you just say that?
yes, I did. Yeah, like, where have you guys been? So what I decided to do after I stopped being mad, because you can be mad, but then, okay, what do I do about it?
Right.
And so the crux of it was people were actually coming to me and asking questions. And I said, there are minds brighter than mine who I think have a good resource, or point of entry, because what I'm going to give you is anecdotal and my understanding of history. Why not go to a book? Because I'm a book girl. Like, if something's wrong in my life, I'm going to read a book about it and figure out how to fix it. So I recommended 3 resources. One was White Rage. I can't.
Hold on. Could that be the book, White Rage?
Carol Anderson. Yes, really, really good book. I didn't recommend trash. I also recommended White Fragility. That was the first
look, the same cover. They copied each other.
Exactly. They probably got the same designer. Might even be the same publisher. Who knows? And mind you can do those as audiobooks as well. I do a lot of audiobook listening because it's just easier on my brain right now. And I recommended my favorite podcast done by Scene on Radio. And they had a season of podcasts called Seeing White.
Yes, and I put a banner of that too.
And I cannot recommend that highly enough. Because here's my idea. I've spent my entire life living this. I've also spent my entire life, learning more about history because it's not really accurately taught. Like, what's really going on here. I did not recommend stuff I didn't read or listen to. And I didn't want to overwhelm people because I feel like subsequently people have come out with all these lists. Here's the music you should be listening to, the movies you should be watching. And you know what? If you're just dipping your toe in the water, and believe it or not, there are some people who are, here's an easy point of entry. Let's start there. And then we can have a conversation if you have questions, because now your questions will be coming from a knowledgeable place.
But I know one of these, not that it detracts from knowledge, but I think at least one of the authors is white. So
no, they're all white. They're both. I'm sorry. One is white, and the guy who does Scene on Radio is white. Because here's the thing: how many Black people have written about this for decades?
And nobody's listening. So
I'm like, here's your own people talking to y'all in a way that you can understand. I don't think I could have made it any easier. And
Michael Eric Dyson wrote the
yes, he did.
I interviewed him years ago. I love that man.
He's so cute.
He's
I hate to diminish him to his physical attributes, but I'm a woman of a certain age. I can do that now.
Yeah, you can.
But here's what I found interesting. I'm like, here's my list. Leave me alone.
Oh, good.
And I've gotten emails from people because I mentioned it. I do. I'm on every Tuesday on Sirius on John Fugelsang's show, and I mentioned my list there. I had a guy email me. He goes, he went to the podcast, Seeing White, and he said he thought, how you think you're going to listen to something and I'll be cleaning, or I'll be straightening, or I'll be doing laundry. He said he couldn't. He actually had to stop and listen to it because it was just so much information, so many things he didn't know, and it was mind blowing. And he thanked me. I had one of my friends. One of the ladies who ran up in my inbox, and I gave her my suggestions, and she came back to me. I want to say it was last week. And she said, Leighann, I want to apologize. And so that's how I knew she started with White Fragility. That's how I knew she started with White Fragility. She goes, I want to apologize for making this your problem, and thinking that you had answers and wanting you to hold my hand through this. I apologize. I'm reading. I'm horrified. I'm learning. Thank you. And I actually said you didn't need no apology necessary. I mean, it's thank you, but no apology necessary. Right. What really is important to me is that people are actually reading and learning,
Exactly.
I mean, y'all are coming to the party late, but at least you showed up.
I think it's great that people reach out. And I know it's like, if all of a sudden 100,000 men go, Maureen, please teach me about sexism in the comedy workforce. I'd be like, really? Can you not see,
Right.
I mean, I think it's a different analogy, but it's like, really, I can't.
It holds up.
But I also think that your sharing it is really helpful to people. I shared it with people, what you had recommended. People who are very educated and really care, and this isn't new to them, but they go, what is she recommending? I would like to see. My sister, who's an English teacher, just emailed a message as my sister Anne, the youngest one, who will be taking care of everyone. I wonder if you listen to the New York Times in general, the New York Times podcast 1619.
1619, just signed up for it.
Okay, she just
here's the thing. I mean, I have done this periodically for years, and sometimes you also have to manage your information intake, because I would listen to some stuff and just be mad. Like, I'm already mad, but now I'm even angrier, and I'm like, you know what? Ooh, I need to digest this information. Yeah. Now, what do I do with it? And pace myself, because you can just you cannot be on 10 every day, all day.
No, you have to give your brain a break. And speaking of breaks, right now it's a commercial break. Woo! It's insane. You guys, Monday through Friday, I'm bringing you great discussions, funny people, smart people, the whole mixed bag. Tomorrow, Brian Balthazar, I call him the pop culture icon because he just has been on every show talking pop culture. He was the executive producer for the Today Show, The View, HGTV. He has his own company now. Love him. He's so quick-witted. Thursday, Hanging with Leighann is going to be Peter Bales with History Tales. And Friday, we are going to dish some dirt, some hell gigs with Jimmy Della Valle. I never know how to say his name right, even though I've known him 100 years. It's Jimmy Della Valle. We're going to find out how to say his last name. There's a lot of words there. And Brendan Donegan. We're going to have a great time with these folks. Monday, Tom Dreesen, over 60 times new on the Tonight Show. Opened for Frank Sinatra for 13 years. Got comics paid for the first time out in LA back in the day. The price hasn't gone up since, but still, we thank him. And on Tuesday, we have Kathy Ladman.
I love Kathy.
Everybody. And if you want to support the show, please consider chucking a buck. And then if you do that, I'll keep these coming for you. PayPal.me, Mo Leighann, or Venmo at Mo Leighann. And there's other things you can do to support, too. If we have a lot of interest in this now. If you want to sponsor the show, hold on, let me get that off. I'm my own tech person, too, just so you know.
I'm my everything.
My everything. If you would like to, what am I telling people to do? Here we go. If you would, that's StreamYard if you want to connect there too. Sponsor the show, your name, your logo right there, and we can work out other things too. Just email me. So that's what we have right now for you. And of course, I have my store. Don't Make Me Hate You, every item you could ever want with the Don't Make Me Hate You logo, because we're all about love. We don't want to hate people. They make us hate them. And of course, Leighann Lord, her podcast is People with Parents, Leighann Lord Comedy on YouTube. Her her re-release of her album, I'm Not Urban, I Am Urbane. I love that. I'm Urbane.
Thank you.
And veryfunnylady.com. Now, I have my own things to share, too, that this has been a book I've had on my shelf forever that I've read, that I took out again, that I've always recommended, given the times. It's called Forever Free, Emancipation and Reconstruction. And it's Eric Foner. He was, I don't know if he's still with us or he's gone to God, but he was a professor at Columbia. And I love this book because it really shows what happened post-Civil War when African Americans were in the Senate. I believe there was 2 from Mississippi. There was a number of in Congress, and then like, whoa, these Black people are moving too fast.
Yeah, no, Reconstruction, first of all, it's not even really taught in schools. It was like, okay, there's slavery and then Martin Luther King.
That's true. That's true. There was Paul Robeson. No, we didn't learn about Paul Robeson.
If you're lucky, if you're a theater student, you learned about Paul Robeson. If you're lucky, maybe you get some Harriet Tubman, maybe you get some Booker T. Washington, maybe you get some, George Washington Carver, because that was the Peanut, and then
the Peanut. Frederick Douglass, a little bit.
Some Frederick Douglass. But yeah, no, the history is shoddy and spotty, and that hurts everybody. All around.
Well, you also look too, Leighann Lord, and where are the women? We sewed a flag and we gave some water to the nurses. I love the nurses, but Florence Nightingale, God love her. Where are we? Dolly Madison made ice cream. What do we got?
It's so funny. I do this thing every day called Lighthearted History, which is based on real history. I'm on this, email list of, okay, this is what happened today in history. And because I'm just curious about stuff, and every time I'm reading it, I'm like, this man fought this battle, this person conquered this country, this man wrote this law. And I'm like, and what are the women are just filing their nails, like, there's nothing to now, unless it's a woman of royalty or somebody like Joan of Arc, we don't hear about them. And so when I first started, my lighthearted history is here's the fact that happened, and then here's my lighthearted touch on it. And the first few that I was doing, some guy came home from a 10-year battle and he was very successful, and his wife said, "You forgot the milk." So I tried to humanize these. Like, okay, you could take over a country. When are you gonna put up some new shingles and mow the lawn? Like, you're right. Where are the women? We're not written in.
I know it's very unfortunate. I have a book. Where did I put it? I have my books all over the place. Gail Collins, America's Women, and it's holding up my light right now. But Gail Collins, America's Women. You read that, and the first entrepreneurs in America were actually African American women selling their vegetables and fruits on the side of the roads. That's what they say were the first business women, and that's something. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess I'd have starved because, fruits and vegetables, I don't eat that now. So
you don't, and you're so
deficient.
slim and
so deficient. No, because it's cutting into my bourbon intake. What are you, crazy?
Oh, you do bourbon?
I love bourbon. Well, actually, I love anything right now that takes me away.
What else do I have? So I like that book. It's just,
I don't know if you see this. My friend Lois is in the chat. She is hilarious. You know Lois.
Oh my God. Do I know Lois? I don't want to say.
Stand-up comedian. She's Brooklyn based. She does it before the pandemic. She had a great show called Blacklight Comedy, featuring women identifying, women of color doing stand-up at a lovely venue, her brother's restaurant, the Brooklyn Moon Cafe in Brooklyn, and it was such a warm, wonderful spot to go and do comedy. And this chick is smart.
Lois, shout out to Lois Thompson. If I've met you, forgive me that I remember. I'm sure if I saw you face to face, but I would love, if I haven't worked with you, I'd love to. So we'll connect at some point.
Yeah, if we ever get to the end times of this.
I hope to God we will, but people don't start putting on masks. I don't know. I guess science is dead. But you worked with a big science guy. Oh, come on, Neil
deGrasse Tyson.
Oh, here's another. His wheels just go and go.
Oh, constant. It's like brilliance, charisma. Yeah.
You know who I want on the show, though, who I love so much? I love Brother Cornell.
Brother Parnell. Yes. Oh, Brother Parnell. Yes.
Come on, Sister Leighann.
Sorry.
That man, between his spirituality and his brilliance and his mind, I could watch him forever. Wherever I am, if he's on, I pulled over on the side of the road when he was speaking. He was on some news show a week ago. I'm like, I can't. I got to listen to him.
Yeah, there are some people like that for me.
You know what, too? I think Lois mentioned Harriet Tubman to Oprah, yeah. But,
ta-da! Don't forget the ta-da.
Ta-da! Ta-da! The thing is,
we don't get no Sojourner Truth in there. We don't get no Ida B. Wells in there. Ida B. Wells was not in my history books when I was in school. Like, who?
Well, a lot of these, we don't know half of these people. I mean, nope. We do. But there was something I was going to bring up to you. It'll come back to me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. No, it doesn't matter. There's so much to talk about. Oh, Harriet Tubman. Okay, we learned about her in school minimally. And, you know, Underground Railroad, you didn't know where it started left. You just know people got on it. And I thought underground, they were in Pennsylvania in like a bunker. But to watch I don't know how much creative license was taken with the film Tubman.
Oh, Harriet, yes.
Harriet, rather. If 1/10 of that is true, she's the bravest human being beyond anybody ever.
Listen, I'm not even trying to walk to the grocery store
to get any more bourbon.
No, can I get it delivered? Yeah, I can't imagine that level of courage and fortitude to not only get free, but to go back and to go back multiple times. And here's what blew my mind. I didn't know. And they showed this at the end of the movie that she actually led one of the Union regiments. Like,
I didn't know that either. I have goosebumps.
I'm like, where's my part 2? Like, if we can do Infinity War and Endgame, we could do Harriet Tubman part 1 and 2. Like, where is a woman, a former slave, leading a Union regiment? Like, what?
Amazing. Just amazing. If you haven't seen that film, Harriet, you have to see it.
And yes, there was some creative license in there, but my take on historical films is this: it's if Hollywood's doing it, they're gonna sweeten it up.
Right.
But that's not your end point for history. You go, okay, this was a nice intro. What's really going on?
I know, even more. One question leads to 1,000.
Right. Like I felt that way about the 300, because, first you just watch it to drool as a woman, with your shielder on it, the very sexy stuff. And then they started doing, which is what I love, the historical documentaries, like this is what really happened.
Well, that's what I love.
So you get the eye candy and then you get the mental candy.
You are killing me. You're getting very horny being home alone over there. You're digging the hot guys. I don't blame you.
No, who doesn't love the 300?
Well, Sojourner Truth, I wanted to bring this up. Sojourner Truth, I'm with you too. I'm like, Sojourner Truth, there is the first real women's statue is going up in Central Park in August, given this virus stuff. There's no real women in Central Park in any of the statues. There's a guy from the Netherlands. There's somebody Swedish, one or the other. But all of the statues, so the only women there's a nymph, there's Juliet, there's Alice in Wonderland and Mother Goose. That's what we got. No joke. So the great-great-granddaughter of Elizabeth Cady Stanton, her name is Colleen Jenkins, lives in Connecticut. She is, it's called Monumental Women. There is a statue going up of Elizabeth Cady Stanton, Susan B. Anthony, and Sojourner Truth, the three of them.
Nice.
I'm so excited. So I have more recommendations. One is this was so popular, just came out, I believe, or unless it was reissued.
I am not your Negro. Woo! I had to watch that with the pause button in my hand. I know, I'm serious, because you hear this and you just when he said America doesn't have a Negro problem, it has a white people problem. It was like, oh yeah.
He was I just remember reading his stuff in high school and just loving him to bits and pieces.
You didn't get that in my high school.
You didn't?
That's considered extracurricular. That's the reading you do when you get to, for me, when I got to college and wanted to know more. Like, we did not get the Autobiography of Malcolm X. That was...
Now, how great is that book? I read that years ago.
And that's one of those books, I think, that's on your reread list, because it'll mean something different in your 20s than it means in your 30s.
Yeah.
And by the 40s, you just go out and, learn how to shoot shit. Because you're tired of people's bullshit.
You kill me. Where did you grow up, Leighann?
Right here in New York, Queens.
Oh, you did.
Yeah, I'm a New York City native. I know there's only like 9 or 10 of us left who can afford to be here.
Oh, right. Well, I laugh because, we go on the road a lot. And of course we can put on our New York. What are you talking about? Get out of here. But I speak this way. You speak that way. And people will be like, you're from New York? You don't sound like it. I get that all the time. Yeah, because we don't go to New York. Every now and then I'll find myself going car or dog,
for me, it's a couple of circumstances. Either one, I've been drinking, or two, I'm very comfortable, or I'm very tired. And that accent will pop out.
Well, I was imitating my father, Huey Langan from the South Bronx out in California. A woman said to me, do all of you back east speak that way in New York and New Jersey? I said, are you listening to me? Do I sound that way? It's just funny. My mother's from Ireland, so it's a different sound. Sometimes people can pick up the intonation of the Irish, particularly when you go, will you be joining me, won't you? It's always the question at the end when you're making a declare.
Right. Well, my family's Caribbean, so that's an influence that will pop out periodically. Yeah. My idea of disciplining children really is beating them. So
yeah, sure. Why wouldn't you do that? You have to shut them up, of course. Couple other things. So yeah, the Autobiography of Malcolm X is powerful. I Am Not Your Negro. You get to see, this is done, Samuel L. Jackson does the voiceover parts when James Baldwin has gone to God. But you see something, somebody's thinking, is it so violent? It's not like blood and guts and gore. It's real. It's like historic. And the parallels to seeing these guys with their Confederate flags come out, the African-American protesters, and seeing people put up on the walls and thrown. But it's powerful. Baldwin's journey with Malcolm X and Medgar Evers and of course Martin Luther King, and you see their death right around the time he's writing and during the time he's writing. It's very historical, and I think it's
historical and it's personal, because by the time we learn about these people, they are historical figures.
And he was their contemporaries. Yeah.
He was their contemporary. He spoke to their humanity. These are these are my boys. And it's like, what?
Right? I mean, and it's all terribly sad too, all of it. But
It's sad and it's exhausting. This is exhausting stuff.
well,
You
what?
ask me, what makes me angry, and it's like, I don't know. I was born angry. Well, I shouldn't say that, but it's just there's so much that keeps you on a low simmer, and then it just erupts periodically, and it's like,
When people will say, sometimes, not sometimes, I would love to get, like a cultural historian or a sociologist on the show with me to
ooh,
talk about. I want to ask all those questions and comments that people that I find are, let's not say racist, have some racial ideas, or they'll ask questions like, why can't they pull themselves up by their bootstraps? Why do they want to live in the ghetto? What's the problem? All the other Americans you hear these questions. I hear it when I'm talking to people about history. Well, have you not noticed that when Rhonda Handsome said this, another comedian who I had on the show,
love her.
woman, I do, yeah. And she's like, stop telling us to pull ourselves up by the bootstraps, because when we do, you cut them.
Yep.
She brought up Tulsa, Greenwood, the uprising there.
I mean, and even a little bit like more recent, but still historical, the trickle down theory, Ronald Reagan's trickle down theory of economics did not help us. People don't talk about redlining, the effects of, you could have the money and then not be allowed to buy a house in a certain area. You could be a veteran, you have served your time, done your duty, and come home and been denied your benefits.
Your dad
in America, you only have the rights that you can afford to pursue. So when there are things that are systematically done, that it doesn't matter how hard you work, you're not going to get but to a certain place. There are things that are structurally not the fault.
I think when people say the word systematic, it loses people. They're like, systematic. They think like a system. The system does not work. You can save your money and go buy a house. I sold real estate when I was doing some graduate work. I couldn't stand it. I was in for 3 minutes. I couldn't stand it. But literally, if a person of color moved into a neighborhood, the values of the homes near them went down.
Yes.
I mean, that's insane.
And there's a phrase for it. It's called white flight.
Mm-hmm.
And so why is that? What is, when you say, oh, it's a good school, what does good school mean? It means there's no Black students there, or there are very few. These are the things that are sort of embedded in our culture that we don't talk about, we don't address. And then, well, what's wrong with you guys? Why can't you just be better? Oh, okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Be best.
You wise ass. I love it. Well, my younger sister has a child. Well, they all have kids, but she has a youngin who's now 8. But when my sister's a teacher, so when she was putting her in daycare, she purposely sought out a daycare with all mixed races of children, because she wanted her to grow up where that is just commonplace. And I respect that. Well, who wouldn't want their kid? Well, I guess who wouldn't? A lot of people wouldn't.
Plenty people.
I know. I just caught myself, because to me, don't you want to know more types of people, more cultures, more everything?
But there's also the underlying reality that schools in certain areas, in urban areas, and places of color, a lot of times are not as well funded. So selfishly, as a parent, where do you want your child to go, knowing how competitive having an education is? So there are a lot of factors in here, like why aren't property taxes divided equally among school districts?
Well, that's the whole thing. When I was a documentary producer, that's what I did in the state of New Jersey, was property taxes. They were fighting for this. There was a nun in Newark fighting for this. I don't know where it was. It was a long time ago in terms of where we are now with that. But I grew up in Lake Hiawatha, New Jersey. There's no lake. False advertising. Morris County. I'm sure it was a good school. I think so. I don't know. But I focus on what these kids in Newark, New Jersey had to run in the hallways to train for their track meets. They had to train indoors in the hallways.
Wow. Yeah. Now, while I applaud that ingenuity, I'm disgusted they didn't have the resources to have property taxes. And you go, I don't know where it is now, but there was this wonderful nun. I wish I could remember her name, so long ago. There's a town called Mendham in New Jersey where they have I don't know if this is back in the day, they have an indoor pool. They have who has that? Right. What schools have tennis? I don't understand any of this. But yes, kids should all have equal footing when it comes to education, because that is, but even if you say you get educated and then you go to buy a house, you're redlined. Right. Or you're, the studies have been shown that you're not given, you either denied the loan or you're not given a good rate. or you're given a super high interest rate. I mean, there's just the incidents have been documented and been repeated, and it always feels like every time we win one thing, they're steady trying to figure out how to diminish and take that. So yeah, it's important to vote, but now we have gerrymandering, where they've taken away the power and the cumulative amount of your vote. So it's very frustrating. I don't know where people get the energy to fight this all day, every day.
It's a lot. I applaud people who do for women's rights, African American rights, LGBTQSTURVW rights, trans rights.
Yeah.
God bless the Supreme Court, at least all but three, who voted to give equal protection under the law.
I was happy for that, but then reality settled back in, because again, you only have the rights that you can afford to pursue. That's number one. Number two, somebody's steady in the background already figuring out how to still discriminate. And number three, who's next up on the discrimination list? Who do we miss? Short people?
I went to short fella.
Right. I mean, but who's next to be discriminated against that we didn't see? Because I don't understand this human need to oppress, to do that, to discriminate. Like, I don't understand why we all just can't have a glass of wine
or bourbon in your case. So that's what I want to do. I want to have somebody on and ask all these racial questions. I don't want to say races, because I don't know, people might ask serious and go, I don't understand. And then that's an opportunity to help people understand, like you did. Hey, read your books, people. Speaking of books, there was one, I was listening to a podcast, and it was on this book. I'm going to show you guys. This was interesting. I went for a hike the other day. The Heritage. Do you know this book?
Black Athletes, A Divided America, and the Politics of Patriotism. Howard Bryant. I am not familiar.
Okay, well, there's a podcast on Fresh Air. You can listen to that if you prefer. Okay. I know we're book people, but it's much more interesting than maybe the books sound. But they talk about protest in sports. And they talk about somebody like Paul Robeson, the performer, but he was an athlete. And then they segregated the football league. I don't know if it's NFL, ALL, LLL, whatever the hell it was called back then. But, what do I care about football? So, but politically, I love what goes on. The reason I like baseball so much growing up is how it mirrors what's going on culturally in our history. But he talks about this Howard fella, this chap, this Mr. Bryant, talked about how protests were effective in sports and when they did it and why it was happening. And then this was fascinating. After 9/11, the Defense Department had what's called paid patriotism, where these sports teams where you thought, hey, we're bringing the military family out. They're going to meet their kids on the pitcher's mound. That was all paid for by the Department of Defense. Now, is this a good thing to have people meeting and have, go rah-rah military? Your father was in the military. Of course, you want to support and respect. Of course. But it was like planted and paid for. So after 9/11, I want to be patriotic, of course, but it's so manipulative to pay for it by the Defense Department. And who worked to undo that and brought it to light was John McCain, the military man, and Flake. Jeff Flake? Is it Jeff Flake?
Floyd Flake?
Huh? No,
Floyd
not
Flake?
Flake.
Well, no, that's my local guy. May not be who you're thinking.
It's I think Jeff Flake. But my point being, it's a fascinating look at certain protesters. And it's interesting to hear how Jackie, Robinson disagreed with Paul Robeson, was in Russia and said, as a black man in America, I think the Soviet Union would treat me better right now than I'm treated in America. And then they had Jackie Robinson come out and do a PR campaign saying he disagrees, even though he doesn't think African Americans have it good in America. So it's fascinating just to hear. I don't know. I love that stuff,
Right. Yeah. No, they always want to trot one of us out to say it's not always as bad as y'all think, to gaslight each other. And it's like, no, we're not doing that.
Yeah. No. Leighann, don't play that. Oh, Leighann, Lord. Okay. A couple other things. I want to just give another promotion. Here, hold on. Hear ye.
Hear ye.
I know, it's insane. Guys, you support the show. If you're so inclined, chuck a buck, and I'll keep these coming with you. I have great shows. I have Tom Dreesen on Monday. I have Kathy Ladman on Tuesday. We have so many great shows lined up for you. And another way that you can support is you can sponsor the show, and we can always work something out with that in terms of look at this, you guys. I'm my own one-man band. All right, just deal with me here. I'm trying to get people to
see. I get it.
I know. There we go. So if you want to sponsor the show, your logo here, we can work out how many days, all that happy crap. And additionally, henceforth, moreover, you can go to my store, Maureen Leighann. It's moleighann.com, store.com. Maureen, what can I get there? Oh, T-shirts. But what else, Maureen? Masks. What do they look like in person? Oh, here we go. Don't make me hate you. Wore it to the dentist today. Big hit. Okay, hold on. I got to. There, see, look, it covers everything. There we go.
I love it.
I know. It's insane. And, Leighann Lord, I want to give people follow you. She's so, I don't have to tell you how brilliant she is. I mean, you can see for yourself right here. Her podcast on YouTube is People with Parents. Leighann Lord Comedy, right?
Yeah, well, actually, it's on iTunes, Spotify, because it's not visual, not yet. I just do a few of my interview clips on YouTube. But yeah, no, I just refreshed my YouTube channel though. So yes, follow me there as well.
So repeat where they can see your podcast, People with Parents.
People with Parents, iTunes, Google Play, any place that you get your podcasts by audio. I just have a few clips, video, because I've just started doing interviews again.
Good for you.
Yeah. I put up recently Carol Montgomery's interview.
Carol Montgomery, tell people who she is, because she's done quite a lot for women in comedy.
Well, aside from being my friend, Carol Montgomery is a fantastic comedian, and her current project right now is Funny Women of a Certain Age, which is on Showtime. She's had 2 specials on Showtime. Hopefully a third will be coming up when things open up again.
Yeah.
She's done a wonderful, wonderful service for women in comedy. As we get older, we get funnier.
That's true, because we have more rage and more to laugh about.
More rage, absolutely.
And for you, for those of us out there who may want to know more about, the struggle and why people can do better to understand all of that, do not personally email Leighann. She can't hold her hands. She's tired.
I'll send you my list.
Well, here we'll go over that again. Let me just get the band. I'll just give another. We're going to wrap it up. Here we go. White Rage by Carol Anderson. We also have White Fragility. The same book covers, black, white, get what they're doing there. Robin DiAngelo. I personally, I love I Am Not Your Negro on PBS right now. And it's on another station too. Just look it up. I like Forever Free, Emancipation and Reconstruction by Eric Foner. And this book, I like, if you're into sports, even if you're not, this is history, right. The Heritage. One other thing you were recommending, Miss Lord, is a podcast called Seeing White, produced by Scene on Radio.
I highly recommend that because there are a lot of podcast people out there, and that is a really easy point of entry. They have many, many episodes, and it comes from a very genuine place. The producer said, I know I have privilege. I don't understand what's going on. I want to know more. So he's coming from a very honest place. And then his co-host, Ginger Eye, they really they put it together in a really step-by-step, easily accessible way that, it just blows your mind episode after episode.
And I think it's important for people to ask questions. You get embarrassed sometimes going, I don't know that, or that seems so, I feel stupid asking that. I think it's better to ask and learn and embarrass yourself, but don't embarrass yourself. You won't. And I do think if you don't know it, this has been a big deal lately, but I know you've known it. I have. What happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma in 1921, what was called in Greenwood, which was called Black Wall Street. You had doctors, you had lawyers, you had people very successful in a part of America that you keep saying, why can't the African American community grow to that? They have, and then we burned it down. This wasn't nice. That was really bad.
That
10,000 people homeless. Well, they did good. Sorry.
I said that's the understatement of 2020. That wasn't nice.
That was so bad. That was really mean. You know how kids are like, that was bad. That was really bad. No, it was so awful. 10,000 people left, homeless people killed.
And somehow that's not in the history books.
Isn't that bizarre?
Somehow the president doesn't know. Well, the president doesn't know a lot, so that's not a barometer. I retract that statement. I actually just posted today that I'm looking forward to July 4th this year. Because it'll be 14 days after the president speaks on June 20th. Let's see how that incubation period does.
I know, right? That's going to be insane. But even the protesters, I want everybody wearing their masks.
I do too.
I want, just go out there. My friends are nurses. They said, Maureen, cover the mouth. My friend's a doctor. Cover the mouth because the airborne stuff right there is what's going to happen. Just what's
Mhm.
the big deal? You don't believe
I
in
love the people wearing the masks on their chin. I'm like, that's
chin
not
guard.
right.
That ain't right. No, chin guard, no good, no good. But if you guys go see the movie about Greenwood, not the movie, just 60 Minutes had a segment on it the other day. Just Google it, search it, and watch it. It's really great. All right, so we got a great week lineup for you. Stay with us tomorrow. Brian Balthazar. I got Hell Gigs on Friday. I got History Tales with Peter Bales on Thursday. Tom Dreesen next Monday. Kathy Ladman on Tuesday. And today, the wonderful Leighann Lord. Thanks for being with me, sweetheart.
Thank you, Maureen. It was a pleasure. This flew by.
I know. Stay with 1 second as I say goodbye. And you guys, thanks for supporting Hanging with Leighann. And follow me at molangan or maureenlangan.com. It's all there. The connection, the love. Bye. Mwah.